Some brands feel totally forgettable, and then there's other brands that we just can't stop talking about. We can't get enough of them. And I guarantee you, this isn't luck. The brands that win the hearts and minds of people are doing things differently. I guarantee it. And there are 3 principles that I know that they are using. I've worked with some of the biggest brands in the world, helping them to transform their creative, social content and brand strategy. I know for a fact that they use these principles. Let's get straight to it. The first principle, your brand is more than just a product. This might sound quite simple on its surface, but it's really powerful when you break it down. When we think about a brand, we might think about the logo, we might think about the color schemes, and most definitely we'll think about the service or the product that they provide. But when we think about brands that we love, that we hold deeply in our hearts and our minds, there are a lot of other things deep in the brand that make it an emotional point of reflection. And this is about the community that that brand has built around itself. Let's take, for example, a fashion brand. They might have great designs, they might have great products, they might have great models. All of that is fantastic. But what's really important is that the communities that they bleed into, the types of spaces that they pop up in, and the kind of conversations that they're drumming up, that is the community of the brand. And that is what people externally will then connect to and see themselves in. That is really what a brand should be doing to achieve success, is allowing audiences to see themselves in the brand. So if you're thinking of developing a brand, or you have a brand that's struggling to gain traction, think about what's beyond the product that defines who you are. It's all about individuality. It's all about identity, right? So you want to make sure that whatever you're communicating through your content, there's always something that's drip fed through your content and your content strategy that aligns to the personality of the brand. You know, I could say to you, yeah, I'm a branding content creative expert, but I love cooking. I love fitness. I love making music. I'm a professional musician. I'm obsessed with dogs, but I refuse to get one yet because for some reason I have a block about it. That's a whole different story. But you get the picture, right? I'm more than just this. A brand is more than just a product. And every brand that I've worked with that is doing numbers, they think of their brand as more than the product. And that is what builds an amazing community and an amazing foundation. And now once you have that mentality, that then takes us on to principle number 2, the power of culture. This is a development from what we were talking about. Once you start understanding what your brand is beyond the product, you can then start to lean into community, lean into culture. And this is when the brand will become unstoppable. I guarantee it. Internal culture bleeds outwards. So you want to make sure that the culture that's being displayed publicly is a true representation of the identity of the brand. And you can showcase some of the best bits. So this might be the type of office culture that defines the brand. How people style themselves in the office, that defines the brand. What are people listening to? What music does the office play when people are around? Is there a culture around food? Are there brand and company traditions that, keep the brand vibe alive in the office kind of thing? Are there any cool things that the individuals in the brand or the business are doing that help, bring momentum to the culture and the life of the brand? That kind of internal culture is so important, so that when people externally start to peer in, they can say, oh wow, even the people inside are cool. I relate to that. I get that. That's nice. Okay, I like these people. I can vibe with that. That's essentially what you're trying to create. You're trying to create that excitement and a connectivity from the inside out. You shouldn't ring fence all the great things that are happening inside the four walls of the business. You should showcase that and do that in a way that really represents the identity. See how this is all linking together now? A great example of this is company wellness. And I've started to see this a lot. Different companies that will showcase how they're looking after the employees with wellness. This might be retreats, it might be company runs, it might be spas, it might be sound baths, all that kind of stuff. There's a consultancy called Gate One under the subsidiary of Havas, and they do these things called gataways, where they take their employees away every year, or I think it's every every quarter, maybe it's every quarter, but they do this annually. And they take their employees away to somewhere beautiful. And yes, they might have a day that's related to work, but then the rest of it is just pure relaxation. It's pure joy, it's pure wellness. And that kind of thing makes people then realize, okay, well, if the employees are happy, they're going to be happy with their clients, and that's going to bleed through into the work that they deliver, right? So that kind of thing is really powerful. On the same topic of culture, leaning into local communities. Every brand that is successful will lean into the local community. So this might be supporting local causes, running events in a space that supports the people where the business or the brand is located, and feeding that. But it could also be cultural communities. So if it's in music, it might be going to local artistic spaces and supporting those events, funding it, allowing more of the community to grow. You kind of see what I'm saying? So it's kind of feeding into that in a way that represents the brand, seeking that out and enhancing the local community or the culture that surrounds that brand, that business. And the third principle is friendship. Finding opportunities to connect with audiences like you're talking to a friend. And this is when the power of creators come in. A lot of brands will work with creators to build that kind of personal connection to audiences. And I genuinely think that businesses now have the best opportunity to work with creators. I used to work at a company called Social Native. Once upon a time it was called Olapic, right at the start of the earned media user-generated content journey. And at that time, we used to call creators influencers. Influencers are now a thing of the past, but creators now are so well skilled, so adept at tuning into communities that it's almost a huge mistake for any brand to not leverage the power of creators. There are creators in every single space. So you can guarantee there will be a creator for your industry. And why this is so important to use creators is because they can communicate to people like you're a friend. And that is what people are looking for. In an era where AI is taking away the humanized side of content and creativity and connectivity, the human element of brand communication has become so powerful. So if brands are avoiding creators, it's an error on their part. And I can guarantee you that all of the brands that are doing great things have used, are using, and will probably use creators at some point. If you want to know more about creators and why they're so powerful, I'm going to make a separate video. So if you want to see that, you can check it out soon. Or maybe somewhere here if it's already up. But yeah, that's it for today. Take those 3 principles and fly, my pretties. Do your thing!